Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the York series. Sitting within North Yorkshire, York is a very historic place with 31 civil parishes within its city boundaries. Here's one of them for your enjoyment. Welcome back to York, everybody, and it is still blooming cold out here, so I'm putting my hood back up again. At least you're not going to see my crazy hair. I do worry about that. Anyway, one thing you won't need to worry about in this episode is seeing anything that's, shall we say, undesirable, because this place is a conservation village, so it's going to look nice. And as well as the village, there's a major landmark to the south, and that's a college. This, my friends, is Askham Bryan. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to the first of the two Askham twins, which both lie to the southwest of York, close to the A64. This is Askham Bryan and the other is Askham Richard. Both Askhams were once just one manor around the time of Edward the Confessor, and they belonged to Edwin, Earl of Mercia. They eventually came into the hands of Bryan Fitzalan, and Askham Bryan's name is derived partly from his name. Fitzalan was granted the lands by the warden of Richmond Castle. The village has sometimes been known as East Askham or Great Askham too. Askham Bryan is also mentioned in the Domesday Book. The name comes from Askham or Ascha, which means enclosure of ash trees. The village was historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. It was formerly a part of the district of Selby until 1996, and ever since it's been part of the city of York. Much like Hesse, the village these days is inhabited by commuters, though there is still some agriculture here. There's also a major employer to the south of the village. That's where you'll find Askham Bryan College of Agriculture and Horticulture, which was originally known as the Yorkshire Institute of Agriculture when it opened in 1948. It's another small slice of York with some big landmarks. Let's go. We start on Main Street, which is the main road through what is an overwhelmingly linear village. I spotted a French flag here, which had me all curious. What I was seeing was part of the Askham Bryan Christmas Trail, based on the song The 12 Days of Christmas, and they were the 3 French hens. It didn't take me long to find the 4 calling birds, and on the side of this building here, I also found the 5 gold rings too. Pretty clever this. There were others, but there's more to Askham Bryan than that, like for example this old pump outside Blacksmith's cottage. Not far after this you come to the village pond, which is believed to have originally been dug as part of a medieval drainage system. Several water birds, including mallards, moorhens and the Canadian goose, are often seen here, and it's the ideal place for the 7 swans are swimming as well. Okay, I promise that's it with the Christmas theme stuff now, because obviously it's January as you're watching this and Christmas was last month, so I don't want to bestow any bad luck on anybody for talking about Christmas when it's not Christmas time. Okay, so we've virtually hit the middle of the village here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn left briefly to catch what's down this little road to the left. I think there's something down there. I'm not quite sure what it is on the map. It looks like a playing field, but I'm not totally sure. I'm going to catch that and then come back to this road to carry on through the village. It's a linear village and it doesn't go for much further after this crossroads. When we get to the end, we'll just turn around and then head back this way and catch the church, which is on the left, and that'll take me through to Church Close where I parked the car. With me? Let's go. So next, on the corner of Askham Fields Lane, we have the village hall, which was originally built as a Methodist chapel in 1893. After the chapel fell out of use, it was willed to the village in 1954. Outside the hall, we have the parish notice board. You can tick off the first of the Askham twins, folks. There's no longer a chapel in the village, nor is there a school, but there used to be. It closed in the 1960s when it merged with one in Askham Richard. Now we're on Askham Fields Lane, which is predominantly residential. This is not the oldest part of the village, but you can still see why it became a conservation area in 1980. And this is the open green space which I'd seen on the map. It turns out it was a small playground and not a playing field as I originally thought. Askham Bryan's lack of a playing field means the local cricket club actually play in Heslington within the grounds of the University of York. Now, one good thing about finding this playground is that from here you can see another landmark which falls within Askham Bryan's boundaries. If you look to the horizon, you'll see the top of a water tower, and just there it is. That's on the road towards Cotmanthorpe, and I'm not planning on standing outside that and filming it. So from here you can see the water tower, and that ticks that box. Okay, now we're going to head back the way we came and carry on with the main road and see where else it takes us. Continuing down Main Street next, here we have the Manor House. Notable local families to have been titled Lord of the Manor for the village include the Mowbrays, the Stapletons and the Greys. Harry Croft Esquire was one of the last to be recorded as such in 1890. We're now in the oldest part of Askham Bryan, where there are some gorgeous old buildings, like for example this one, the Victorian Doctor's House. The oldest part of the village also includes Askham Bryan's only pub, the Nag's Head, which dates back to the 18th century. This is divided into two areas, with the lower part serving as a dining room. There's also some interesting ironwork artefacts outside the pub, echoing the village's agricultural past, and they're now used as planters. Not long after the pub, the road reaches a small green, and if you keep walking it turns into Westwood Lane and eventually ends at a farm. Okay, so now we've turned around and we're heading back the way we came, and we've only really got one more landmark to see in the main village, and that of course is the church. So I'll see you there in a moment. The parish church of St Nicholas dates back to the 11th century and is of an original Norman design. It features a working 17th century bell tower. It's a Grade 1 listed building, constructed with a mixture of limestone ashlar, sandstone rubble and some reused Roman bricks. It was built when the parish was in the possession of William de Teakhill. Its nave and chancel form a single space, and it has a south-facing porch and a north-facing vestry. The belfry was added in 1611, and there's a small cross on top of it. Inside, its features include a Jacobean pulpit and communion rail. In the churchyard, you'll find the village's war memorial, and it's a Grade 2 listed structure. It's a simple Celtic cross, and it bears the names of 8 men. And you're able to walk from the churchyard back to Church Close because there's a footpath that crosses the drive of Church Farm. Now, of course, there's still one major thing we haven't talked about yet here in Askham Bryan, and that is Askham Bryan College, which I'll be heading down towards in a moment. But there's also another thing which falls within Askham Bryan's boundaries, which I'm not going to be physically going to, and that is a nature reserve called Askham Bog, and that is going to get its own special section coming at you right now. Askham Bog is a small area of peat bog which lies to the north of the A64, just within Askham Bryan's boundaries. Formed around 15,000 years ago in a hollow which was flooded with glacial meltwater, it's regarded as one of the most ecologically diverse sites in northern England. From the early Roman period until the mid-18th century, Askham Bog was exploited for peat for use as fuel. The earliest evidence for this came in the form of peat lumps found in a Roman well in York. Hemp was also once cultivated at Askham Bog, likely heavily during the Tudor period. In more modern times, a development of 500 houses on the edge of the bog was proposed in the 2010s. This was denied by planning inspectors in 2020. It stirred up quite a media frenzy, so much so that Sir David Attenborough, the national treasure himself, stepped in to stop the development. Okay, so to finish with, it's Askham Bryan College, and I'm standing at one of the entrances to it, as you can see here. Westfield Farm, Askham Bryan College. This is all part of the college down here, and this is a public footpath, as you can see. Now, I don't know how close I'll be able to get to the college itself, but if I just follow the footpath, I know I'm still legal. So if we just head down here, we'll see what we can catch, and this will be what finishes this video off. Askham Bryan College was opened in 1948. It was built in 1936, but it was unable to open until after World War II. The college runs agriculturally based courses, including things like animal management, veterinary nursing, horticulture and countryside management, to name just a few. The college site covers 1,022 acres and supports 3 farms: Westfield, East Barrow and Headley Hall. This footpath runs through Westfield Farm, which accommodates a Frisian dairy herd and the National Beef Training Centre. It runs to the A64, where you can see the college's main buildings from a distance. The plan was to walk back from here past those using another path. However, the path in question has been permanently fenced off. Mind you, that enforced change of route meant that I did end up walking past the water tower after all. That was something of a bonus. I don't know whether the college has any mature students, but if it does, that building right there is a childcare centre also within its grounds. So that was a little bit galling, wasn't it, that I couldn't use the footpath that's marked on the map. Totally not my fault. I had no idea that that has since been removed and replaced with something else. But at least it had an upside, didn't it? Because we got to see the water tower up close, which is something I didn't initially plan to do. Now, speaking of planning, I'm supposed to be heading to Askham Richard now, which is literally just 2.5 miles up the road. However, with the weather being like it is right now, I know it's nice and bright and sunny, but it's very, very cold. And the problem with that is it kills GoPro batteries. I'm having to talk to you with the GoPro plugged into the charger in the car at the moment. I'm just completely out of power, and so I'm not going to be able to have, there's not going to be enough time left once the batteries have charged up to do Askham Richard today. So that is going to have to be abandoned for now, but of course Askham Richard will be done at some point. And anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the parish of Askham Bryan. I know I have. A very nice village, and one that I'm sure a lot of people will love to visit on the back of this video. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Askham Bryan, and I'm out.